Hey guys, welcome to the OG's Power Hour. Don't know where my co-host John is. We'll wait and see if he pops on, but we're talking carbon and your plants today. So if you guys are watching the Soil Matters, you've seen Leighton talk about NPK and how he's explaining it to people on the CNPK or carbon NPK. So I wanted to talk a little bit more on carbon today because it is one of the most important components of life on our planet. We're all carbon-based life forms, whether that's the human body, whether that is our plants or our animals. Everything here basically is carbon, and as Silly Lily says, carbon is so critical. Without carbon, we don't have the life necessary for plant growth. And it is one of the most important components of the soil food web in its entirety, from the smallest microbiology to the largest animals on our planet and trees and plants on our planet. Without that carbon, the cell structure cannot be built. So there's so much talk about carbon sequestration, etc. But when we're looking at the plant side of things, that especially in an indoor environment, we're looking to add carbon into that environment for the health of our plants. So considering the vapor pressure deficit in an enclosed environment, we talked about that on a few different shows of how important it actually is. So your plant breathes through its stomata. Okay, so on the underside of the leaf, it's got areas where it draws the environment in and releases it, just like we're breathing. Your plants breathe as well. That's where your vapor pressure deficit, having it in at the optimum ranges for your type of plant, whether that's a tomato, whether that's cannabis, whether that's roses, poinsettias, etc. Having that VPD at the right area.
A little bit more of an advanced
Oh,
one. First of all,
we're muting him right away because I'm talking, and now he's got something else. He's on something else, so I'll carry on. So your plants are breathing and they're drawing in the carbon from their environment, just like we're adding CO2 in an enclosed environment for cannabis plants. Your plants need that carbon, and that's one of the ways that it doesn't have to draw carbon up through its roots and through its plant structure. The carbon is there available as it breathes in the leaf structure itself, and then that carbon can be distributed throughout the area for growth of that leaf and new cells and new biology to be developed to build and maintain that cell in your plant. Because each cell has its own base biology, it has its own base structure. Just like building a house, you have to have that base structure. And a lot of that is those carbon molecules that your plant is breathing in. So for us, that means when we're eating a plant, we're getting a certain amount of those carbon molecules into our bodies to break down to build cells in our bodies, right? So we're all carbon-based life forms, as I said at the very beginning. And if we're lacking in that carbon, then we're actually in trouble. We can't build the amount of cells that we need to build. So especially in the early stages of development of your plant, when she's putting on structure, the more carbon, the more molecules that the plant has to build itself, the better and healthier that plant is going to be. It's going to have a thicker leaf because it has more carbon to draw on to build the cells of its plant and to build, of course, the biology that has to maintain that cell. you have to consider, and this has come up with Tom Landry in his commercial grow, where at night when he turns his you know carbon CO2 off, that he's still maintaining a certain level of carbon in the air. And we're looking at the soil structure and it literally releasing carbon in the lights off cycle. Now, is that the potential of the carbon being released so it can flow up into the stomata, because it's your plant grows mainly at night, just like a child grows? That's the old adage, kids growing like a bad weed, or it's overnight that this happens. It's like they stretch. And so if your soil is literally releasing carbon at that time, is it actually feeding the plants through their stomata that carbon so that they have more carbon available to build more cells? Now, I'm actually not sure on that one, but I have a feeling that it's highly likely that that's how the cycle works. So, John, you're focused off on the other thing, or are you just here in the grace of beauty that you are, or are you going to be joining the conversation?
It's beauty.
Just
It's
beauty.
It's beauty. I know for some reason the internet's just sucking right now, so I'm just trying here. I've redone my laptop. I've upgraded to a new Mac system. I got 3 windows open. We're talking about Mid-Journey on one end, about just different things on today, which I already know how to do. So I figured I'd jump in here and say hello. So a lot of stuff that's just being discussed in the AI world, which is pretty cool. So I always come in here to listen to what's going on about, it wasn't so, apparently it's one more class. Last week there wasn't, right? Remember I was here last week? Was that one? Yeah.
I thought so, but
I thought I was too. I always have to double check because I don't really look at the past anymore. I only look towards the future and seeing how far we can grow. And I have seeds that just popped. The Romulan cross with the Medi Kush. So that's pretty cool. And then
you're showing us the Medi Mac last week.
Medi Mac is doing well. So out of the 4 wood down, 1 pop is growing good. So it's in the sun. It's about this tall. So I got to keep it away from the cat. So I know he'll eat them. So I got to be very careful right now. So he's locked out of a room. Right, and now it's just kind of moving forward, and did the Romulan Medi Rom. So and I'm gonna do the Medi Cross chocolate Thai GMO. So I'm gonna do that one next. So I'm gonna do just different 4 different genetics this year, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, instead of flowering them out just because of all of this stuff, I'm just gonna grow some big moms.
Well, that makes life a lot easier, actually.
I know, and I'm allowed to give away cuttings.
Bonus. Gotta like that. All your buddies are drooling right now, going, "Yeah, I want some."
So that will be coming in June.
Cool.
Yeah, well, they'll be go from right from seed, from cuttings, and the cuttings will get rooted. They go out July, August, come down September for the outdoors. So we'll see how that works out and stuff like that. So I'm just having some fun. Who knows? You know what I mean? We'll do some light dumping. It's a little late. It's a little early because I put this down for the main long weekend, which is planting, right? So that's what we're getting ready for. It's getting ready for our main long weekend, getting ready for the heat's here, summer's here, seeds are popping, the weather's good. So what do you plan on growing for your season this year? What's those new strains you want to bring to light? What's that new kind of voice that you want to bring to your garden? Because that's really what it is. Cannabis is a voice to your life and to your garden. It gives you that, what's the best way of saying it? Captions. I'm gonna listen to show captions. What's he talking about? Stuff I already know about. See, I can read, and it's pretty cool. I'm pretty good at doing 3 or 4 meetings at once, by the way.
Yeah.
Always be
well, that's
right there. See? Right up there. Playful out. Oh, don't text and drive, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Get off your downfall. See that? Right there.
Well, how about you focus on what you're doing there for a bit, John, and I'll just babble on for a while, and if something piques your interest, jump on.
Well, babbling on about what we're going for the season and creating your new, having fun. growing.
Yeah.
You know, what are you babbling on about? You're babbling on about. I was half
Uh,
listening.
Carbon and your plants. Just talking about our plants and how much they need carbon. And you used to put CO2 in your grow, and there was a reason for that.
Oh yeah.
So I touched on VPD a little bit. You're more in depth on the VPD than I am. Can you explain to the audience more on the VPD? Well, you wrote a book on it, so yeah.
That's one right here.
Yep.
So, new book right there. 42 Quotes by Johnny B. So this just is in. I know. So VPD, vapor pressure deficit, the amount of moisture and the amount of pressure in the air that's pushing on the leaf and the amount that's coming off the leaf that's being exuberated from the amount of moisture that it's actually in the soil. So if your plants are too dry, they're not going to be able to exceed that moisture. And if it's too dry, then they're going to be giving off too much. So it's really balancing the amount of pressure on the leaf, which is amount of moisture in the air, and then of course the amount of moisture that the plant is giving off. So you can see in the summertime plants wilt very quickly because they're giving off too much moisture because they're trying to breathe and they're not getting any in because there's nothing in the roots, and that's why plants wilt, because they need moisture coming up through the roots in order to kind of produce its growth. It's how plants open up and grow. So if your CO2 levels and your moisture levels are at a prime rate, the stigmas are going to open up. They're going to be able to grow much quicker, more healthier. So when your temperatures are too low and your humidity is too high, then moisture is going to sit on the leaf and it's going to cause it not to be able to uptake. So there's different ways of looking at why we got to control this, and we always thought differently. Low humidity, high temperatures, we were causing powdery mildew because we were chasing it. So understanding the different variables of doing this and why we use a lot of high humidity rooms for vegetative state, especially in cloning, around the 75 to 78%. And then going into the first couple of weeks of flower, we're bringing that down from the 74 down to 69. And probably the last week of flower, I'm sitting around the 60, 62%, whereas before we down at 40%. So it was actually causing PM by not having any moisture at all in the room, and the plants were trying to off gas nothing. So it actually wasn't, what would the guy from Quest would say? It would just sit on the leaf because it wasn't enough heat, there wasn't nothing in the air for the plant to actually get rid of it. So understanding these variables and why vapor pressure deficit is so keenly important. And yeah, it's in my book, and it's LEDs, the keys to growing future. You can get this in 3 different languages. Coming in French, apparently I have to do that. And I don't even know what chapter it is, but I can definitely look it up right now. Vapor pressure deficit is chapter 4. It's pages 24 to 32. And you can actually go to, if you guys want, if you have ChatGTP and you're into doing all this information and stuff like that, you can go to the greenway.ca. You can scroll down and you'll find some custom ChatGTPs there. One will say John Berfelo, and that gives you everything in my book. And you can pray to ask. It will tell you all about all of these questions.
And this is your new book that you're put out, your 42 quotes.
Well, yeah, there's the Greenway of 42 quotes. So that's the new book here, which is pretty cool. So I created a new book. And this was done with AI and through my friends. And 42 years of growing. And I have my next one coming out too. So as I finish this one's coming out. I have my 71 aspirational lessons that I've learned in my life. And these are a little bit differently because what I've done is, and then on June 5th, I'm going to give a little lesson on how to use AI in your life and how to create your own book for yourself so you can actually get it's for me, I can open up the book and read about myself.
Right.
And it brings me that joy. And this joy that it can bring anybody else. So when you're opening up and you read different parts of the life where you were inspired in your life or brought you joy, wouldn't you like to learn how to do that for yourself? So this is all about my growing path and all the different gardens and different people in my life to help me grow. So if I open up the book, and Ken didn't make the book yet, he's in a different book. I go 32 quotes. It's about Randy Kane. And right now I'm reading some right now about Jason, or I have Jason's story, or I have Dr. Hornby's story. Right? So I have all of these stories and what those people did for my life.
And Lily would like you to hold up the cover so we can see the cover. Cool. And so
this is then finalized. This is just the first. This is This is the editor's copy, so this has got to be done a little bit. So there's 5 copies here. A few people about the email right now, and it's going to be a free download. So you're able to get a free download, when that will link you to the AI courses that goes to the back end of the website. That's going to be able to have some courses in there right now, and teach people about why I created the Greenway AI, to help people in their gardens and in their life, and to help them with their greener way of being able to focus on where they're going. I have one there specifically on how to create different strains by crossing different genes by looking at the different types that are out there, and you can ask it these questions.
Yeah.
And we do this in our gardens. We wonder what this would create. So I asked the AI, hey, if I took this strain with that strain, create this, what kind of, it will give you these type of terpenes. We anticipate this will be the outcome. Wow, I had no fucking idea. I'm like, okay, I got to create this. So I created this, a gene kind of coding thing on my Greenway AI. So
Cool.
it's pretty cool. So you can actually learn all these different things, or learn about different ways of being able to prompt or understanding. Everything I'm doing here is all in the same context of being able to how we can grow forward and be able to use new tools today to grow. That's how we learn. That's how we all learned.
Yeah.
Tools to actually generate, to go faster and learn quicker. Because there's ways of being able to kind of get and adapt, so we have more time, money, and magic by using AI, so we don't have to think as much, and we can evolve more, and we can use these super intelligence to actually grow more defined and more precise as ways of looking at those genetics and what biology to add to the soils and what's lacking in soils. We're going to get so much information coming to us now, guys. I even worked on one right now with that, so I'm going to release that one for you, Ken. It's all about the biology,
Cool.
but so things that
Should
we
be
can do. It is, because it does everything. And what we do is you have to have human in the loop. So it doesn't know everything, because you need a human in the loop with everything, right? Because as we grow, so do we evolve, and so does the intelligence evolve. So at any given time, we can use these tools so we can grow forward and have our daily life, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Like you said, it's more about the time, money, and magic. And for people like us, it's about getting out into nature. It's about understanding more about ourselves and growing ourselves. Because however you grow, whatever you grow, just grow. And that's whether it's a plant, animal, or you, or you're just your mind. John, you've been growing your mind so long, and you're putting out these books. It's fantastic. So you were mentioning a course that you're doing where you're going to show people how to write their own books.
Yeah, I'm going to do one on June 5th. I just kind of came up with this morning because I know how to do it all. And I was in another group like, dude, this is, and it took me a long time to understand how to do this. And I actually did this because somebody else wanted to write a book of their life. So after I take a look, I said, what do you want to learn? They says, well, I just want to write a book of all my stories of what I've done. I'm like, So I tried doing it, and I was having frustration. I was learning how to do this, and I had to start getting around how to actually create this. And then I actually came accustomed to be able to do that by looking at how I can talk to a super intelligence, get into prompt engineering, and then creating my own custom chat GTP to write the book on ways that I had felt. And then I put this on my website. You can go to greenway.ca. You can go to the top, there'll be greenway.ca, and beside that it'll say courses. If you click there, I have 2 things in there right now to teach you some cool stuff. How to role play with Johnny V, so you can kind of role play with anybody you want in life. Right?
Okay.
And there's Gary V, sorry. And then if you want to talk with Einstein, so I'll give you some few different ways why you should name your chat GTP, and you pay to play. If you want to play, you got to pay to play. So you have to upgrade to get the chat GTP 4. It's $20 a month. And with this, you're going to learn new tools and different ways to be able to talk to a super intelligence. And I give you a side-by-side way of looking at it and how it talks. And I did a little video. It was on Saturday for 35 minutes. I did another one previously a week before on how to use 5 large LLMs. So it's not on YouTube. It's on the website right now. And pretty soon that's going to get a lock. It's going to get a passcode, and it's going to cost you to get into there. And then you're going to have access to all of these videos information over time. And I'm going to keep doing this. And the courses are on Wednesdays. And then on Saturdays, I'm going to do a free little, actually, I'll probably do it free on Wednesday. I'm trying to figure out the best way to serve and give people value.
Yeah.
At the same time. Value, because I already said this. I had some guy who wanted to get onto it, and I goes, "What do you mean you don't take my money?" He says, "Well, I only want people. You have to apply. I don't like people who want to actually learn and do this and work beside me and not have. I'm not trying to teach you this because I'm your teacher. You want to learn beside me. We can excel forward together. That's the most important part is what we can do as a team, community and collaboration. We keep saying it, right?
Yeah.
Because competition creates a lot of chaos in life. So if we collaborate and commune together to grow, and that's my muse, use these tools so we can actually continue to grow forward and use these in our business and in our life.
Yeah.
So first 10 spots. Yeah. All right.
They're booked.
I think they're gone. And actually, I might just let that ride because I was talking with someone else. So you just let that ride for the first 42 spots for $42. I said, I kind of like that. 42 for 42. So I might just have some fun with that just because I want more people to learn. And it's not about the money, it's about the value. Because the more people we have together, working together and learning together, and the more we're going to evolve together. That's the most important part. That's how all that biology works. It all works together. All the plant, I mean, all the bugs and all the insects and all the moles, all that biology, all that works together in this harmonious way that created Mother Earth. It's how we have to create together, guys, with community as we collaborate together. We create this 42 group of 42 influential people who want to go around the world. Just changing it again. Yeah, it is 42 for 42. So that's what I'm doing around the world the green way. And this is how we can actually create more fun, time, and magic like you're doing with the OG Power Hour, what you're doing with all about the biology. We're all creating ways to be able to give back and serve people on a higher level and see what we can do for them. Right? And with that, we can use a super intelligence to continue to grow forward. And as we all learn together, we'll learn different ways of custom prompting engineering, how to talk to a super intelligence, because guess what? You're going to need to learn. Because it is happening. You can't change the fact that we're evolving to this. No matter what. You either learn or you don't. Well, you know what? I learned how to tie my shoes. I learned how to ride a bike. I learned how to drive a car. If I would never learn how to drive a car, I'd be taking a bus everywhere, wouldn't I? Or walking. So you have to learn in order to grow. So if you want to grow, you're learning, and we normally start from seed. And we add a little bit of water. Well, this is a way of being able to grow forward because the seed that you're getting right now is a seed that you need to grow in your life. Yeah. And I should to this because this is like everybody's taking notes except me.
All right, go back to it. I'll mute you.
Okay, fine. Mute me.
Okay, you're muted. So there's so many things in our lives that we stumble across, and it's a learning journey in everything that we do. And John's talking a lot about seeing the potential of AI, and a lot of people are fearful of that AI, but there's only you that can control what you're putting into the AI. It's not like somebody else is controlling. It's like you going to the library and picking these books and reading all these books and gathering that knowledge together. That's what the AI systems that we have right now are doing. It's going out and it's gathering data, and it's being correlated for you, but you have to ask the questions. You're actually the one in control of that. But getting back to carbon, as Silly Lily says here, carbon is the chemical backbone of life on Earth. We wouldn't have the computers that we're creating AI with if it wasn't for that carbon. The plastics industry that created the case that goes around your computer, around your phone, around your laptop, etc. The fear of the AI that we have is what are you saying? I fear AI will see us a threat to nature. I think that we are definitely a threat to nature with what we're doing right now. I think if we're intelligent, we can show using AI where we can change what we're doing and help Mother Nature. I think AI would be very foolish because it needs us to be the input. computer doesn't work very well if it doesn't have somebody writing the code to start with. And that's what John is doing in his courses, is showing people how to write that code. And, you know, look at it, you know, carbon in your plants. Every keystroke is that piece of carbon going into the matrix of what you're creating. You're just not creating a plant, you're creating a program that can help you to move forward in that. I don't know enough about carbon to, you know, give you the chemical makeup of every different type of carbon structure there is on our planet, but I know that I could ask an AI to search that for me, to go into the library of knowledge we've created with the internet and pull that information for me quickly and efficiently, so I could answer my own question, let alone someone else's question on carbon. So it's treated as the tool that it is, but learn how to use that tool. Like we learn how to tie our shoes, like John said, we learn how to grow a plant, whether that's in an outdoor environment, indoor environment, whether that's hydroponically, living soil, aquaponically. You know, there's so many ways to get to the same result. And the result that I'm looking for in life is the result of knowledge. The more knowledge I have and I can share and grow my own mind and my own energy field around me in a positive way, then that's what I'm going to work towards. It's the thought of the matrix of our planet. You could look as an AI with each, you know, part of the biology being part of the neural network of our entire planet, controlled by Mother Nature. She's the master AI of our planet, and she's talking to herself and the world around her through the biology. And we keep destroying the biology, so we're destroying the computer that runs our planet, the AI. We're, you know, taking away her sensors. You know, she can't see the Romulans coming because, you know, we've taken away her ability to see what's going on by killing the biology in our soils. So yes, we are doing the damage, and yes, we can repair that damage. And by properly using the knowledge that we have, somebody's riding a bicycle, but you know, it's in that knowledge that we're gaining here on this show with Leighton Morrison. We actually have Dr. James White coming on to talk about horizontal gene transfer and the research that he's doing, which is, you know, extremely cutting edge of how the neural network of the biology works, how the millions and trillions of electric signals are being transferred at a genetic level through the biology. Now, don't tell me that's not a neural network that is tapped in, and the master AI, which is Mother Nature, that we want to help, not hinder. We're destroying that network. So we need to use the tools we have available to help regenerate that network, which we understand is compost, is worm castings, things that like that, where we can recreate that living soil structure, which recreates that connection. And if anybody's worried about carbon capture, well, there's more carbon held in an acre of land than we can grab out of the air with all the different technologies that we have. That's simply done by Mother Nature, creating the biology that lives in the soil. You know, your fungi, your hyphae holds that carbon in its structure until it's disturbed. Look at Chernobyl, where the plants are all back, the soil is restored. Until you disturb it, there's no radiation. It's when you disturb that structure, you release it. That's what we've done with the carbons in our soils, in our plants. We have killed the soil with the biology and released that carbon back into the environment where we need to regain that carbon back into that soil structure. And by doing that and putting the biology back in, we get healthier plants that if you consume, you get the micronutrients that are supposed to be there, that are drawn up by the biology out of the sand, silt, and clay and put into that plant. Your animal is going to be eating that grass that has that life in it, that has the nutrition in it that the animal needs to put into its muscle mass, which we consume and get that microbiology. We get those building blocks that our bodies need out of that. So it's that soil food web cycle of everything. And it all starts with CNPK. That carbon has to be there. And for that carbon to be used, you need to look at the BCNPK, which is the biology, the carbon, and the other components. Take a look at your periodic table of elements, my friends, because pretty much everything that's on there is necessary in the air, the soil, the water, etc. It's been put there by Mother Nature. It's been put there by plants growing, seeds popping, and then them dying and putting their structure, what the biology was able to draw up into that plant, back into a more easily digested substance for the biology to put into the next generation of plants. We were talking with Andy Lopez on Wednesday about how important understanding what weeds are, and they're a healthy plant for your soil. It's what Mother Nature has dictated your soil needs. When you have bare soil, she's going, oh, I can't have bare soil. And what is missing out of that structure? And that's the seed that pops, because that's the Mother Nature's way of putting back into the soil what is needed for components in the soil to get her to a rainforest, to get her to the next level of biology and plants. And she's trying to grow and never wants bare soil. A volcanic eruption is going to start growing again very, very quickly, as we've seen with Mount St. Helens. And the plants there are luscious and healthy because of carbon. Oh, yeah, that's right. All that ash, all that lava, all of that carbon coming out is being broken down by the biology, turned into more biology and cell structure. It's turned into life. It's turned into what is necessary to produce oxygen on our planet. It's also putting the fungal hyphae, the biology, into that to start breaking it down and giving it back to the complete structure of our planet. So it's just Chernobyl is like a resin bomb went off. Exactly, super. And just to let you guys know, I know John's going to be at Grow Up. I was supposed to be going to Toronto for Grow Up in Camp Canna. Unfortunately, things have taken a total left turn, and I'm not going to be able to make it. But I wanted to let you guys know that I'm not going to be able to make Grow Up or Camp Canna in Ontario. I'll just be making them here in Alberta. But hi, Pimp Jam, martial artist. I know I saw Super and Jason, Marshall. I grow. Welcome, guys. Really appreciate you guys being here, listening to the OG's Power Hour. We're here to help people to grow in many different ways. Like what it says on that side, however you grow, whatever you grow, just grow. I know I said it before, and Lily put it in the chat, but it's that multitude of growth and understanding, whether it's understanding more about how the biology works in everything around you, least everything that's supposed to be alive, the air has enough biology in it landing on your skin. Um, if you've ever heard of a breatharian, you should look it up, because there's people that don't eat, they breathe, and they're getting everything their body needs from the air around them. They're getting the proteins, they're getting the carbons, everything to keep their body healthy, literally from the breath. And then they're doing a lot of sun work, where they're out in the sun gathering that energy. That's why we talk a lot about energy, frequency, vibration, because it is that a synergistic relationship between those three things. Energy is a waveform, vibration is a waveform. It's all interconnected. John has written a book on light. Can talk to yeah, see, he's half-ass listening to both of us. But it's that energy, frequency, vibration that is controlling everything. I know that James White has talked about, or Dr. Pollock has talked about, the frequency in the infrared that affects the water more than the other frequencies. If you look at an infrared image, you can see the energy we throw off from our bodies. They call it heat, but it's a frequency, it's a vibration that the camera is actually looking at. And if you tune that camera differently, you start to see the energy around plants, around animals. And it's not the heat signature that you're looking at, it's actually the energetic flow that you're looking at that surrounds our bodies. That is controlled by our, you want to call it a soul, our aura, excuse me, whatever you would like to call it. That energy exists around the plants and the animals, and we can interact with that because of our carbon base of our entire existence on this planet. There's an interconnection, there's a flow of energy through the water, through the carbon in our bodies, that is resonant frequency to life on this planet. Without that carbon that I'm talking about, nothing works on this planet. Nothing would exist on this planet as we see it now. It would be maybe a helium-based life form, I don't know, but we wouldn't exist here. So we have to understand, the more that we can put us back on the path of life, of putting that energy, that carbon back into our soils in the forms of biology that are necessary to create healthy plants and healthy animals. The stomata isn't the only thing that breathes on your plant. You know, we had Michael Whitman on talking about biochar with Andy and myself, and he was talking about a forest fire and how the smoke literally puts wood vinegar on the leaves of the plant. So that's carbon sources as well. It's also been proven to fight pests, etc. So I'm getting smoke in my area from fires in northern Alberta and British Columbia. So that's where that really came in, is that wood vinegar that is forming on the leaves. And so it's, the cell structure is literally ingesting that. That's where foliar feeding works so well, guys, is we're feeding the components necessary for the biology to grab, to build more cells, to build more of themselves as well. So the more that you have that flow of, building blocks, it's like you're building a high rise. Well, if there's a break in, building materials being able to get to your building site, your building stops going up. That's where it's the same in our soils, it's the same in our plants, in our environment, is if the plant doesn't have the available building blocks, it stops growing. If we don't have the available building blocks, we stop growing. It's the recreation of cells, and the more building blocks and biology to build those cells everything has, whether that's plant, us, animals, then the healthier that structure is going to be. For your plant, the thicker leaf, the less likely that an aphid is going to be able to land on there, stick its tiny little tongue down between the cell structure to get down to the phloem to feed. So you want those healthy cells, and you want a multitude. The higher the multitude of cells, the more pest resistant. The healthier your plant is, the more vibrant it is, and it literally changes its frequency, where insects have been shown not to be able to literally see your plant. It goes to that plant that doesn't have the healthy frequency or is sick and putting out pheromones and frequencies that show that it's not a healthy plant. And is it calling to the insects to come and break down that plant, to return it into the structure of the soil to feed the next generation? So if you're looking at your plants and they're not healthy, consider that in the back of your mind. There should be bugs there. If your plant's healthy, there shouldn't be bugs there. So you want to make the healthiest plant, you need to give it as much of the components and the biology that uses those components as possible. That's where a substance like water-soluble calcium made in the Korean natural farming is not only feeding the calcium molecules when you're doing a foliar spray, it's also attached with the biology that broke that calcium molecule out of the eggshell when you fermented, or when you what's the chemical process when you basically broke the molecules from the eggshells. And then so you're adding both the biological and the component that biology is known to work with. So the more we can do that with the different components, and that's where, we were talking about the weeds, the different medicinal plants that are in, an apothecary that heal the soil by putting the biology and the components in the soil structure to make healthy plants, is what we need to be grabbing onto, maybe doing that fermentation and adding that into our soil structure to create the balance of both the building blocks and the biology. And John, are you coming back there, brother? No? Okay, no, he's shaking his head. No. He's back and forth and mentally, physically, and emotionally. I'm sure of it. Hey, hillbilly. Hey, brother, I'm not going to be making it down to Ontario if you caught that or not. So just to let you know. Hey, warrior. And Pimp Jam. How's it going, guys? Just checking, scrolling through the chat, seeing who's here so I can say hi. So carbon and your plants. So we put carbon into an enclosed environment. In an open air environment, we're relying on the natural carbon that's in that environment. It is part of nature putting carbon into our environment. Think of a volcano. It's putting so many multiple gases, being blasted up into the environment. Carbon is one of the main components, along with other gases that are being put up there. Is Mother Nature trying to tell us something with all these volcanoes around the world going off? Are we collecting too much carbon, or we need more carbon? Oh, that's right. Plants breathe carbon, produce oxygen. What happens if we have a biological collapse in our oceans and take out all those little microorganisms that feed us 70% of the oxygen on our planet? I don't know if I could survive living on the top of Mount Everest, because that'd be about where the oxygen level would be. So we've got to really be careful on not overbalancing. Growers know more, gardeners know more than any dang politician out there on how to maintain balance in a soil structure, helping their plants to be healthy. We know that we need the carbon in our soil. It's one of the reasons people, are putting in some of the amendments that they're putting in. Without that carbon, life doesn't exist. So I'm not going to get into that side argument on the political, etc. We got the people here understand that a lot of what people are saying out there isn't necessarily the God honest truth, as we could say. There's a lot more to it, but we're seeing that in our planet, in our plants, in our animals, and in ourselves, that we need that carbon. So how are you ingesting carbon? Where are you getting your carbon into your body for your body to create healthy cells? Are you getting that from the plants you're eating, from the animals you're eating? Are you taking a carbon supplement? Because that is one of the keys to your health as much as your plant's health, is that carbon. So if you're able to grow more than just the plants you love, more than just roses or cannabis or anything else that you'd love to grow, if you're able to grow your own food, and any animals that you have, you're able to feed them out of your own garden and growing area, you're going to be getting the carbon through the soil food web cycle the way we're meant to. But if you're not able to do that, then you do need to look at other methods that you can get those components into your body, that extra carbon that you may be lacking in your structure that you need for healthy cells. So it's not just about the plants, it's about the entire system that exists around us, whether that's in our oceans, our lakes, or our soils. It's that same system that is working to build a plant in the ocean that's built out of cells which need that carbon, which feed the fish, which need that carbon. I know you guys get the point that carbon is one of those most important molecules, whether that's in our soils or our plants or us. But the key is the biology that can use that carbon and put it into the cells that are necessary for health, whether that's plant, animal, or us. So in your soils, look for the different sources of carbon. And remember, there's organic carbon, and then there's a carbon that is not organic, that is not going to break down. And that's where we got into biochar with Michael Whitman, with Andy and I the other week. That type of a carbon source, when you're putting it into your soil structure, you've heard me mention, if you've been following the channel at all, a little bit about quorum sensing. Now, in my mind, that best way to create that in your soil structure is by adding a certain amount of biochar into your soil structure. We know Mother Nature does it. When a forest fire goes through, there's a certain amount of material that ends up as char or charcoal, and ends up as the leaves fall, etc., into the soil structure as Mother Nature is building the soil up. that carbon does not break down. They've seen it in Terra Preta, 3,000 plus years it's been there and hasn't broken down. It's a very stable source of carbon. What it does give us is basically a planet, a life, a universe for the biology to exist in, that they're not using up that carbon. It's brought the carbon they need for their existence is brought from the outside, but it's giving them a place of protection. We talk about, clumps of soil, aggregation being where the biology lives and exists, but that's a very fragile environment because a worm can still go through there and wreck that, dig through and eat, create havoc. It's like Godzilla going through Tokyo, okay? It's eating everything, okay? Where a piece of biochar, the biology inside of that is protected from that. Now, if it's a small enough hunk, okay, it's going to go through the worm, but it's not going to get digested by the biology inside of the worm that feeds the worm. It's just going to come out the other end and gain a bunch of biology. But that quorum sensing is basically when the biology can get together, and as James White points out, the horizontal gene transfer, the transfer of knowledge at a genetic level. If there's a structure like boron that is not in your soil structure, the biology can literally get together, can create the biology that can eat the sand, silt, clay, and other organic material to create the chemical boron or the substance boron in your soil. But it's got to create biology first that can go out and it can take the different components that make up a boron molecule, can go out, harvest those to create boron. So it's literally creating life at a level that's so far beyond our comprehension that it's able to do this, and having that biochar, that stable carbon, that little hunk, that 1 square inch of carbon and surface area for microbiology, you're looking at the size of a football field, okay, in that 1 square inch. It's protected. And as I've mentioned before, the halls of Alexandria, the library of Alexandria, the knowledge that is safe inside of that piece of carbon to help your soil produce biology that's necessary in your soil structure that may be missing. So as long as you have the other components, and if you're growing cannabis, you need to maintain the other components in your soil structure as well. Your manganese, your silicas, etc. But that carbon source, having that, hard, dense piece of carbon in there that can do the quorum sensing in your structure, is something I think a lot of us need to consider adding if you're growing in a soil structure. So we've got 7 minutes left here, or 6 minutes left. John just had a good sip of tea. He's looking at his phone. So yeah, he's really busy over there, paying attention to his other training chorus, and we're giving him heads up. Red Wigglers. I don't know what you guys are talking about in the chat. Hey, Ghetto Hillbilly. You guys are having too much fun. I'm not gonna jump around, guys, but so where to go from here? We've talked about quorum sensing now, which is something that I learned from listening to one of the scientists that I do, David Johnson, the Johnson Sioux bioreactor, and his explanation of quorum sensing basically just correlated so nicely with the knowledge that I had from previous, like 15 years ago knowledge. It just made a simple click of an experiment that I had ran across, and using boron, where growing a tomato plant, they had stripped the boron out of the soil, and at the end of the plant cycle, there was literally boron back in that soil structure. That would have been a form of quorum sensing that happened in that soil structure that had boron literally stripped out of it by the scientists, and yet the biology was able to put enough boron back into that soil where they could register the boron was there at the end of the cycle. So that's how quickly your soils and your biology can respond to a lack. But it took the complete cycle of that plant. So that first year, you didn't have a very healthy plant. It did survive. Now, if it died, put the boron that was in itself back in, and the second year, you would have had a much healthier plant. It puts itself back in the soil. It's broken down. More boron is available. Your third year, you're doing that much better. That's where living soils, when you're building, especially for people like Tom Landry, who's doing a commercial cannabis grow, is using a living soil. It's 1, 2, 3 years to really have the biology that exists there create any missing biology that should be there. And especially using Leighton Morrison's horizontal system, where you're putting in the rock and heavy sand, and then the sand, silt, clay, organic material, and then the organic on top, you're creating different biology in the O horizon than in the E horizon. It's the different levels of life that is necessary for to have in your soil structure to follow the predator-prey model, which if you don't have enough prey for the biology that eats that prey species. I really screwed that up. Sorry, guys. So if the prey isn't there for the predator to exist, so the protozoa eats the bacteria. If there's no bacteria, you can't have protozoa, and you can't have nematodes, you can't have worms, and you just go up in the cycle. It has to have the different availability of life in the soil structure if you're growing in an enclosed environment. If you're connected to Mother Earth and you can have that flow connect, and it's both energetic and the transfer of nutrients through the network that exists in a living soil, and that's your fungal hyphae, can be considered a highway for your biology, for the atomic weight of molecules moving through to different areas to be brought to the biology that's building the different cells in the plant structure. You need to have that availability of the biology there to do it. So if you're connected to Mother Earth, you don't have to necessarily have the horizontal soil system. But if you're on an inside environment, you need to create the biology levels. So a hydrophobic area isn't needed, but one that's got very low oxygen is, for the different biological environment to exist, for certain bacteria, etc., to exist, to feed the next level of biology, which feeds the next level. So it's that cycle of life. And I bring it back to that soil food web. If one of those components goes extinct, then it can break the domino that was holding everything together. The straw that broke the camel's back may be a microbiology we have never even discovered yet. But if we keep putting biology back in, guys, then we're going to be the ones that one garden at a time, whether that's an inside cannabis grow, whether that's an outside vegetable garden. If we're being healthy, creating healthy, we're going to be helping our planet and stay up on the energetic, keep smiling, everybody. Remember, we got James White on this afternoon with Leighton. And of course, Andy and I on Wednesday. John Berfelo, love you, brother. We're going to end the broadcast here. So jump on and say goodbye to everybody.
And I think Midjourney are.
Okay, John's out for lunch. So guys, I'm ending the broadcast. We'll see you this afternoon.